Affordable housing and transportation were two of the main concerns addressed last night in the mayor's talk on the state of the city. They also are very much on the forefront in the city council district, represented by our guest, especially in East Boston. We'd like to welcome the councilor from District 1, Lydia Edwards. Thank you very much for being with us, Councilor.
Thank you.
Of course, among the things that the mayor talked about with connection to housing last night was the tax on transfers of property worth at least $2 million. I first heard about this from you. It was an idea. I thought it was an interesting idea. Here it is. It's this home rule petition. How did we get this far?
We got this far through coalition building. We got this far because people realized we do not have the resources, even with all the great ideas that we have about housing, we need resources to back them up. And I'm so happy now that the mayor announced a $500 million investment, and that key to that investment is this transfer fee passing.
Now, last night, as expected, there was a lot said about housing, about helping people who are struggling with it. I didn't hear a word about rent control. What should I be reading between those lines?
I think you should be, well, you're probably not going to hear it yet from our mayor about rent control, but look, many of my colleagues, my new colleagues, ran on it. So the conversation is certainly going to happen. I think what you don't need to read between the lines. The city of Boston is now opening up its coffers for housing in a way it never had before. That's a good thing.
What about Suffolk Downs? Because right now there are many demands for different kinds of community benefits from that. You want affordable housing, you want access to open space, and you want jobs for people who live in the city. How are we doing on that, would you say?
I think we're getting there. I think we are really forming a vision that all of us can see a wonderful neighborhood that's vibrant, that's growing for all folks, that's welcome to all income levels. And as long as that's the vision and that's the goal, I think we can write up the zoning in a way that allows for that vision to come to fruition, because it's 20 years of building. It's 20 years of back and forth and making sure that we get there. You know, one huge piece of the puzzle was making sure that we had a project labor agreement. We organized early on in the spring with union members and early on to make sure that we were fighting for that PLA from day one. And I'm so happy that was announced at the PLA project labor agreement, making it 100% union for the entire campus. It's the largest PLA in private development, I think, in Boston's history.
This is being the news, and we're talking with District 1 City Councilor Lydia Edwards. Another topic last night that I'm sure you're still hearing about almost every day is traffic. The mayor wants to give more attention to the problems in East Boston. Do you think that's going to help much?
Yes, I think it's going to help. He was looking at enforcement. He's looking at really setting up task force. I know when we introduced parking ordinance, we were talking about the neighborhood level, really planning for their neighborhood and saying what we need at the granular level. And I think the mayor is enhancing that, saying we want local folks on a task force that's doing that in East Boston. But I think what's also key is the mayor looked directly at our state delegation and at our governor and said, you know, you have a role to play and we need you there. We absolutely need the state to be there, and I'm lucky to have the Representative Modero and Senator Boncory, who are both chairs of the Transportation Committee. So my neighborhood's very blessed in leadership, but it's a statewide, citywide issue, and we need a real partnership with the state.
Well, if the state needs economic growth, it needs those 10,000 units of housing at Suffolk Downs. But what does that mean for transportation, making sure you have the capacity to handle that?
It's making sure that we look at the resources and the public transportation that's already available and enhancing that to handle more. Suffolk, the T-stop, as well as I believe it's Beachmont, are two T-stops on the campus that we can enhance and invest in. We can look at more bus lanes and making sure that we have not just a first world, but a first-rate transportation system that really competes, if not blows cars out of the way. And we want people to feel that they can just get on the train and go where they need to go, not necessarily their cars.
I want to ask you about one issue that you started working on even before you were a councilor, and that was on domestic workers' rights. And right now, part of that is being challenged by families who hire au pairs. They feel that they're taking on too much of the financial burden involved in that. Should there be some kind of a fix?
Yes, and we're working on that. Let's be very, very clear, though. The Domestic Worker Bill of Rights that increased the rights for those who live and work and care in our homes was passed in 2014. So we've had 5 years, and au pair agencies have been very clear about that amongst themselves. They did not tell the host families for the last 5 years. So when the decision came down on December 2nd of last year that the families now have to pay the minimum wage, of course it was a shock. It was a heart attack for a lot of them who did not have it in their budget. I think a compromise bill is coming, and that bill would place the burden on the agencies, and that's where it needs to be.
Finally, I want to ask you about one piece of the ceremony last night, maybe some local pride for you in District 1. You had an East Boston High grad introduce the mayor. Symbolism, yes, but what should people read into that?
What I think he was demonstrating for so many people is that we are a city of immigrants, and that through our public school systems, we make Americans, we make Bostonians, we make our future. And I think having him there and speak about his own growth in East Boston High School was a moment of pride, not just for me, but all of East Boston, if not the entire city.
Thank you very much for being with us. District 1 City Councilor Lydia Edwards. In a moment, honoring the legacy of Chuck Turner, we'll talk with one of his colleagues from the community and the City Council, Charles Yancey.